backing up Lemieux. Back comes Lemieux. All right, and down goes Lemieux.
Getting a $65 million check and showing somebody up that you're better than him. You know what I mean? If he doesn't want to fight me, he doesn't want to show me up, it's for a reason.
Canelo Alvarez is one of the best fighters in boxing, and the guy has been for a decade or so. He'll be a deserving Hall of Famer in the future. However, some of his fans are not so happy and argue he is picking his opponents lately and avoiding to fight the true challengers. And on the other corner, we have the young lion, the hungry contender, David Benavidez. Unbeaten, unyielding, and with a ferocious hunger for greatness, Benavidez represents the new breed of fighters poised to challenge the established order. So naturally, boxing fans have been calling for this match of the decade. Let's hear what Benavidez thinks about this.
He knows what's up. You know what I mean? And I am the best. You know, all the other guys he's fought is weak.
But in between all of the excitement and anticipation of this potential clash lies a question in the minds of fight fans everywhere. Is Canelo truly afraid of Benavidez? Well, join us as we find out the answer to this exact question only in today's video. Canelo is among the select few professionals who, whether we approve or not, have acquired the privilege of the modern era. And let's be realistic, the days of strict adherence to rankings, mandatory challengers, or oversight from sanctioning bodies are behind us. Now, he has the liberty to choose his opponents without constraint. He doesn't mind if you don't agree. You can rest assured that he doesn't care whether anyone else agrees as well. But that doesn't mean one can't have an opinion on the choices he makes. The opinion here is simple. Alvarez should fight David Benavidez. Early in his career, Alvarez built a reputation for chasing risky fights. At age 20, he squeezed past Trout, a tricky southpaw who was virtually unknown. Months later, in September 2013, Alvarez challenged his predecessor as boxing's top star, Money Mayweather. Alvarez was still developing and not in his prime yet, but even then he was already a star. Still, he made weight concessions, a catch weight of 152 pounds, to land the career-best opportunity with Mayweather and was soundly dominated. Alvarez later credited that junior middleweight title fight defeat as a learning experience that would carry him to the top of the sport and keep him there. It was another 9 years until Alvarez would lose again. He found himself in a much different position, but nonetheless pursued the more challenging matchups. Rather than defend his 4 168-pound titles versus Jermall Charlo, a middleweight, Alvarez elected to challenge Bivol for his 175-pound championship in May 2022. Like Trout, the Russian boxer possessed talent that far exceeded his profile. Bivol went on to crush Alvarez in a fight that knocked Alvarez from his pound-for-pound nest. That's why, it appears, Alvarez has no problem saying no this time around to Benavidez. The guy took criticism for the setback despite it being just his second fight at 175 pounds. The loss still eats at Alvarez. Canelo told reporters he remains interested in a Bivol rematch at light heavyweight. Everybody say no, it's an easy fight. But I knew Bivol was a really good fighter and another weight class, Alvarez said. So I take my risk, and I always fight with every single fighter, and I always prove myself there, and I always prove to everybody. But not anymore. I'm tired of that because it's never going to be enough for them. I'm going to do this for me, for my people, and that's it. Indeed, fans will always lobby to see another new fighter land the Alvarez matchup. That's the nature of boxing when you're the top star. It's with good reason that an Alvarez-Benavidez fight is so highly anticipated. I always fight the best out there, and I'm happy with my career, and I'm in a position where I can do whatever I want because I fight for it, he added. I sacrifice myself, and I deserve this position because of everything I did before, says the experienced star. Alvarez still appears near the peak of his powers, following a pair of dominant victories last year over John Ryder and Jermall Charlo. Alvarez broke Ryder's nose in a Mexico homecoming last May, and 4 months later outboxed Charlo, who refused to engage. Canelo floored both opponents. Benavidez, too, enjoyed a banner 2023 in what amounted to a breakout campaign. In March, he outpointed Caleb Plant, whom Alvarez stopped in November 2021, and TKO'd Demetrius Andrade in November. Benavidez doled out brutal beatings in both bouts, raising the volume on calls for a summit meeting with Alvarez. I'm not going to be waiting on Canelo, Benavidez told reporters in March. After I fight Canelo, my career doesn't end. It's frustrating, but it gives me a bad name at the end of the day too. The reason why this fight is not happening is because Canelo doesn't want it to happen, plain and simple. There's little doubt Benavidez, a volume-punching machine with power in both hands, would present a dangerous challenge. He's much bigger than Canelo for one. Alvarez won his first title at 154 pounds and is 5'8". Benavidez is 10 years younger, 36 fights fresher, and is a career 168-pounder at 6'2" with a 4-inch reach advantage over Alvarez. When he couldn't entice Canelo into the ring, Benavidez moved up to 175 pounds for a June 15th bout with former champion Oleksandr Gvozdyk. As Canelo advances to the latter part of his career, respect seems more important to him than ever before. He's always shown respect to his opponents and isn't looking to reward fighters who don't reciprocate, he said. He laughs at the thought that he should punish disrespectful fighters by gifting them the career-high payday that accompanies a shot at the sport's top star. "Let me beat you, give you big money payday," Alvarez said mockingly. "No, not anymore. Respect is important, and I know it's a fight, but when I fight with a lot of fighters who talk a lot of shit, talk a lot of things, and they don't do shit in the ring." Well, that's one statement that I totally agree with. Do you agree with it as well? Then make sure you smash that subscribe button before we move on ahead. Plant earned a career-high $10 million, and Munguia will exceed that amount. It might come across as quite a shock, but Benavidez has never earned more than around $3 million. Meanwhile, Alvarez isn't concerned with critics at this stage. For the 5th time in 5 fights for the undisputed super middleweight crown, Canelo Alvarez remained king and, more importantly, maintained his status as the face of boxing. But it's not because Alvarez's resume needs bolstering or that at age 33, he has something left to prove to the masses before riding into a Mexican sunset. His lists of high-end foes and victories rival anyone's in the game today. He's beaten almost everyone that anyone's ever suggested he fight, and with that has gone far beyond having to apologize for his matchmaking decisions. Nevertheless, he still ought to fight David Benavidez, because as much as any of the others Alvarez will surely consider before next appearing in September or whenever, Benavidez has earned the opportunity to test himself. He too has beaten everyone they've put in front of him, 28 up and 28 down, all but 4 by KO, and nearly all in one-sided fashion. As the fight game's most bankable fighter, Alvarez called the shots and once again found an opening to score a knockdown, even if it didn't lead to a KO win. Alvarez floored Jaime Munguia in round 4 of his title defense victory, but like Jermell Charlo and John Ryder before him, beat the count to lose a lopsided decision. And his defeat of unbeaten slugger Jaime Munguia, who stood 4 inches taller, weighed 3/4 of a pound more, and was 6 years younger, added another one-sided footnote and a 4th defense of supremacy at 168. He won by scores of 117 to 110, 116 to 111, and 115 to 112, and scored the fight's lone knockdown. Now, public demand will grow louder for Alvarez to fight rising star David Benavidez, the Mexican monster, who broke out last year with brutal beatings of Caleb Plant and Demetrius Andrade. "If the money's right, I can fight Benavidez right now," Alvarez said. "I don't give a shit. It's only a matter of money at this point. Everybody is asking for everything." Alvarez, 61-2-2, 39 KOs, has resisted the cries to fight Benavidez, repeatedly saying that he can do whatever he wants after all he's accomplished. And boy, is there no doubting his legacy and credentials. The 33-year-old is an all-time great, but when you're the biggest star in an entire sport, it's accompanied by the demand to deliver what the public wants. Here's what Stephen A. Smith had to say about it. As for Benavidez, he feels he's being treated unfairly by the WBC, with them giving him 10 days to decide whether he'll stay at 175 or return to 168 after his fight against Oleksandr Gvozdyk for the World Boxing Council interim light heavyweight title on June 15th. Benavidez won't get the Canelo fight, so he needs to make the best of things at 175, and if not there, cruiserweight might be a good option. With Benavidez's frame, he could easily move up to heavyweight and follow in Oleksandr Usyk's footsteps. He probably should have never been at 168 in the first place, given how huge he is. "I haven't gotten the opportunity for 3 years, but will make the decision whether to return to 168 after the fight against Gvozdyk. But definitely if we can make the fight happen, that's a fight that we all want to see," said Benavidez. If you trust what he says, then it's a sure thing. But history tells us there's a big difference between talking about fights and actually making them happen. So it's up to the top dog, who's destined for the Hall of Fame, to back up his bold words, agree on the money, and cut out all the other stuff that can get in the way of good fights. Canelo has been too impressive for too long to let accusations of ducking fights stick with him forever. But if he avoids facing the tall, long-armed Mexican monster again and hides behind excuses like money or chasing greatness, then those accusations will stick. The ball's in your court, Canelo. And that's it for today. If you enjoyed the video, punch that like button and hit subscribe for more fight content. Until next time, take care.